Before we argue about the world, let's pause and ask a better question. Division doesn't always arrive with violence. Most of the time, it's quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It settles in slowly, the way fog settles over a city before sunrise. You don't notice it until you can no longer see clearly. It lives in borders, in labels, in the constant separation of us and them, in the way we've learned to scan a room and decide, before a word is spoken, who belongs and who doesn't. It lives in the conversations we stopped having, in the questions we stopped asking, in the distance we started calling normal because it had been there so long we forgot there was ever anything else. It hides in plain sight, in the way news is framed, in the maps we're handed as children, in the stories that tell us the world has always been this way and always will be. And the quieter it gets, the deeper it goes. And because it's quiet, we rarely stop to ask what it's costing us. We've mistaken its silence for normalcy, its weight for gravity, as if it were always supposed to be there, as if we didn't build it ourselves. Global division doesn't just create conflict, it drains resources, it delays solutions, and it normalizes suffering. Think about the problems the world faces right now, not abstract problems, real ones: hunger, climate disruption, disease, displacement. None of these are unsolvable, but they are being solved slowly, in fragments, by people working against each other instead of alongside each other. When nations compete instead of cooperate, problems that could be solved together become permanent, not because we lack the tools, but because the tools are scattered, duplicated, buried under distrust, hoarded by the few when they were built for the many. Poverty persists, not because the world doesn't produce enough. It does, more than enough, but division is the wall that stops it from moving to where it's needed. Climate damage spreads because no single nation can hold back a rising tide alone, and a divided world argues about responsibility while the water keeps rising. Trust erodes, and when trust erodes, everything costs more. Every negotiation takes longer. Every solution requires more proof, more barriers. Division isn't free. It charges us every single day. We just stopped reading the bill. Division trains us to see people as strangers, as threats, as statistics. It teaches us to process human beings in categories, in percentages, in regions, in crises, not as people. And once you've learned to see people as categories, it becomes easy to dismiss their suffering as someone else's problem. But behind every border are the same human stories: parents protecting their children, workers trying to survive, communities holding on, young people dreaming the same dreams in languages we don't understand, but dreaming them nonetheless. The cost of division isn't only financial, it's measured in lost potential. The scientist who never got funding, the community that never got clean water, the idea that never crossed a border because it wasn't allowed to. It's measured in missed lives, in futures that never arrive. We grieve those losses in war. We rarely grieve them in peace, but they are just as real. We're often told division is natural, that it's human nature, and there's just enough historical truth in that to make it feel inevitable. But here's what that story leaves out. Human beings have also always cooperated, built trade routes across deserts, shared medicine across oceans, mapped the stars together, rebuilt together. The capacity for cooperation is just as ancient as the capacity for conflict. We just don't talk about it as much. Ask yourself why. Because division is designed, reinforced, repeated, manufactured by systems that benefit from keeping people separate. Because separate people are easier to manage, easier to govern by fear, easier to convince that the person on the other side of the border is the reason life is hard. We're taught to defend those systems even when they fail the majority. And while we debate who deserves help, who is worthy, who belongs, who counts, the cost keeps rising, quietly, on a schedule no one voted for. Division is not a law of nature, it is a policy, and policies can be changed. Global division is expensive, staggeringly, measurably, undeniably expensive. When cooperation fails, every country pays more for security, for recovery, for the aftermath of crises that cross borders with no interest in our politics. Nature does not check passports. The ocean doesn't care about maritime law when it rises. Resources are duplicated instead of shared. 12 countries working on the same problem separately instead of together. Innovation delayed. Solutions arriving too late. And somewhere in that gap, lives lost that didn't need to be. The world isn't poor. It never has been. It's divided. And division, it turns out, is the most expensive thing we've ever built. What if the real cost isn't cooperation, but separation? What if humanity's greatest weakness isn't lack of resources or intelligence or will, but lack of trust? Trust is not soft. Trust is infrastructure. Without it, nothing moves at the speed it should, and the problems that require speed, climate, disease, displacement, do not slow down with us. Cooperation has existed before. It has solved things that seemed unsolvable. Diseases eradicated. Technologies built that no single nation could have built alone. The capacity is there. It always has been. It just keeps getting interrupted. What if the quiet cost of division is something we can still choose to stop paying? Not because it's easy, but because the alternative, continuing exactly as we are, is so much more expensive than anyone is willing to admit. Division doesn't always sound like anger. Sometimes it sounds like silence. The silence of problems we've decided are too hard. The silence of solutions that exist, but never reach the people who need them. And silence allows systems to continue without being questioned. Silence is not neutral. It is a vote for whatever is already happening. We have been silent long enough, not because we didn't care, but because we were never told that our voice was part of the solution. It always was. Peace on earth is not a dream. It's a decision, made while awake, made despite difficulty, made again and again, because every system that benefits from division is counting on us to stop making it. So don't stop. Question louder, connect deeper, and refuse to mistake silence for peace. Because the world doesn't change in the loud moments. It changes in the quiet ones, when someone finally decides to speak. And every decision begins with a question. Here is ours. What would we build if we stopped paying the quiet cost of being divided?